All right, number one, we have 3x squared plus 15x minus 18. 3x squared plus 15x minus 18. When factoring, you should always look for the GCF. Now, I'm going to say this. If you skip that part, taking out the GCF first, you can still end up with the same answer. It just becomes a little bit more difficult. So let's do the GCF first. Make things easier on yourself. What's the GCF here? No, not 3x. It's just what? 3. GCF is 3. So on your test, what did you do? You factored out the 3. So you said, all right, well, that's going to be 3 times what? Yeah, now, remember, how many terms do you see? How many terms better be inside the parentheses? 3. X squared, what else? And then minus 6. So that's where I'm at. Okay, that was the first thing you had to do, is find the GCF and factor it out. Now at this point you see 2 factors. What's the first factor you see? 3. What's the second factor you see? X squared plus 5x minus 6. Now, you want to factor completely. So you're probably going to say, well, that's right because I wrote it as a product of factors. No, when you factor, when we say factor, you got to make sure that every factor in the end cannot be factored further. So, which means this. If I cover this when I look at this factor right here, what's the GCF of this factor? What's the GCF of this factor? 1. What's the GCF of this factor? 1. That's what you want. You want at the end, you want your answer, the factors, to have a GCF of 1. Now, these were easy because these were binomials. Now, I want you to notice this. This factor is a trinomial. So what you got to do is ask yourself now, go off to the side, and ask yourself, can I factor this trinomial? Yes, you can factor this trinomial. I can write this as the product of 2 binomials. What are they? What do y'all think? You said x minus 3 times x plus 2? All right, let's check it. This is what she says. All right, negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. I agree with that. X times x is x squared. Now, what's the other 2 things I got to look for? The outer and the inner. What's the outer? What's the inner? What do I get when I add them up? That's not right. X plus 6 times x minus 1. That's what that is. X plus 6 times x minus 1. X times x is x squared. A positive 6 times a negative 1 is a negative 6. And you remember the last sign's negative, right? So these signs had to be different. What's the outer? Negative x. What's the inner? 6x. What do you get when you add them up? Which is what you wanted. So now be careful. What some students do is they say this in the answer. They say this: x plus 6 times x minus 1. That's what they say. But then they get upset when they get something back that doesn't give them full credit. Because if you multiply this out, do you get this?
No.
No. When you multiply this out, you get this. What am I missing in my answer? The GCF. So you need to bring down this 3. And that's your answer. Okay? So when I factored this, I really ended up with how many factors? 3. What are they? 3. What's the other one? X plus 6. And what's the other one? X minus 1. Yes?
Why would I not apply a 3 to the second binomial?
Okay, so how many things have been multiplied together?
Wait, say that one more
How many factors have been multiplied together?
time.
3. So for example, suppose I had 2 times 7 times 3. Would you, when multiplying this out, would you say 2 times 7, 2 times 3? No. So why would you say 3 times this and 3 times this?
Okay.
It's the same idea, isn't it? So you multiply in the order in which you see it. 2 times 7 is 14, and then 14 times 3 would be 42, I think. Is that right? Yeah, 42. All right, so you don't write the 3 twice. You just need it once. Okay? All right, that's a good question because some students do that. They do, for some reason, think there's supposed to be 2 factors of 3. But you got to remember how to multiply numbers right here. You don't say 2 times 7, 2 times 3. You say 2 times 7, and then whatever that is, times 3. All right, number 2. All right, suppose you had this. Suppose you had 4x squared minus 4x minus 80. 4x squared minus 4x minus 80. All right. Factor this. Or what's the first thing you're going to do? GCF, which is 4. So how are you going to write this in your next step? 4 times x squared minus x minus 20. Okay. All right. Am I done? No, because you got to check to make sure that this trinomial cannot be factored further. I have a trinomial. Let's see if I can factor as a product of 2 binomials. So go off to the side and do your work. Because you're not going to get it the first try for some of you. You're going to do what I did here. You're going to mess up, then you're going to try something again, you're going to mess up, try something again, and until you get it right. But the more you do, the better you become at it. But you got to practice with this. All right, so I'm going to rewrite my trinomial. Here's my trinomial. X squared minus x minus 20. 2 binomials. What's the first and the first? X and x. Now let's look at the last. I need a negative 20, but let's look at 20 for right now. What are the possibilities for 20, and which one do you think is going to work?
4 and 5.
4 and 5. You think 4 and 5? I agree. 4 times 5 is 20. Do you think a 10 and 2 is also 20? Which one do you think is going to work?
4 and 5.
4 and 5? Anybody else want to try something different?
No.
All right,
Oh,
just
negative 5 plus 4.
okay. Yeah. You're right. But see now some of you have had experience with this, and others you kind of forgot some things. Let's suppose though you said 10 and 2. I'm just going to tell you what some of you are going to do. Say 10 and 2. And then you're going to remember, okay, this last sign's negative. That means these signs in here have to be different. So let's say plus, minus. For that person that does that, and they say that's the answer, what have they not done? They had not have checked it. What's the outer? Negative 2x. What's the inner? 10x. What are they going to add them up? 8x. That's not what I wanted. I wanted a negative x. So 10 and 2 will not work. So what are you going to try? 5 and 4. And again, the last sign is negative, so these have to be different. Let's make the 5 what? Negative, and the 4 positive. Forget the x here. Before you go on, check your work. What's the outer? Works. What's the inner? What are you going to add them up? Negative x. Is that what I wanted? Yep. So, you in the blank, you're going to say, in the blank, you're going to say x minus 5 times x plus 4. Could someone else had said x plus 4 times x minus 5? Yes. But we're not, for that student that does that, they're going to be very upset. Because this is a factorization for this trinomial, but what were you trying to factor? That trinomial. What are you missing?
4.
The 4. Okay? And we tend to put the monomial, the 4. See, that's a binomial, that's a binomial, that's a monomial. We tend to put the monomial in front. Okay? All right, let's do one more with this. So it's number 3. So number 3, let's suppose you had 2x squared plus 6x minus 36. 2x squared plus 6x minus 36. All right, what's the first thing you're going to do? GCF. What's the GCF? 2. So you factor out a 2, what do you get? 2 times x squared plus 3x minus 18. Are you done? No, you're not done. Because you got to check to see if this trinomial can be factored further. So let's check. Let's see if I can factor this as a product of 2 binomials. So obviously I'm going to need an x and an x here. Okay, what do you want to try for 18? 9, 2, 6 and 3. You want to try 6 and 3? Okay. So let's say 6 here, 3 here. The last sign is negative. These signs in here have to be different. Now let me say this. And obviously some of you know which one it is right away. But some of you will not. So you put something. Let's say you put this minus this plus. You got to check, right? What's the outer?
3.
What's the inner? What do you get when you add them up? That's not what I want. I want a positive 3x. So these are just opposites. So that means all I got to do is change the sign. So I get x plus 6 times what? X minus 3. And then it would work. But what's the answer? 2 times x plus 6 times x minus 3. Okay? All right. Now, so let me give you a couple worksheets on this to get you practicing with it.